Look at the SDGs now. Surrender followed this closely than anybody else. And every government, every organization wanted to involve him, and he was told 101 times on SDG all over the world, so he knows that. And all of us were very, very enthusiastic with where the SDG was going. But look at the language on para 24. We further recognize the importance. Recognize, not endorse. Etc., etc. The language is more voluntary. The language is much weaker. So in the next months, years, how will the existing MDGs and the SDG, how will they merge, support, interact with each other? We will see, but we all here have a role. Some different parts of the outcome document under quote-unquote the broad heading of institutions, they are in different places, including in the means of implementation. 3 major intergovernmental mechanisms, institutions are going to be established. And the word that they wrote was establish, 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 resolve, 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 agreed, decided. Resolve to establish an inclusive and transparent process on SDG open to all stakeholders. By the 67th session, that will be established, but the reporting of this open-ended group will be in 2013. While it's open-ended group, the core group will be 30 members, nominated by member states through the 5 UN regional groups, the Asia group, the European group, the African group, the WEOC group, etc. So still a very much intergovernmental process under the UN. Agreed to establish an intergovernmental process on financing, again under the UN General Assembly, Intergovernmental Committee, again 30 experts, nominated by regional groups, concluding their work by 2014. 2 years from now. A lot of things are going to happen in 2 years from now. How and what results are going to come out from this financial group? It's a question mark. The world is going to turn upside down in 2 years. The third is decided to establish a universal intergovernmental high-level forum building upon the CSD and subsequently phasing out the CSD. 12 terms of references suggested in there, and launch an intergovernmental and open process, etc., etc. The word open-ended, transparent, etc., it's all over. But underlying it is still very much the process and procedures that have been used in the UN for 60 years. Still the same institutional, organizational, intergovernmental, supported by ECOSOC, supported by the current CSD, supported by the General Assembly. Many have queried that with such a process, very time-established process of 60 years, and we found that it did not quite work at Rio+20, that negotiations until the 11th hour was stymied. And as Dr. Ishii, the incoming head of Jeff said, she thought there was 2 worlds. I fully agree, but there were 3 worlds. The third world is that within the governments, those that are negotiating was 1 world, and those that are taking in all the side events, and particularly for the Sustainable Development Dialogue, a wonderful process, they were talking different languages within the same delegations. 3 worlds. And no connection. So, what can be done? What advice can be done by a group like us to ensure that in the next 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 months, we will not repeat the painful process which we had for the last 2 years. They're all over. The bottom line is that the UN agencies needs to go back and look at their existing mandate. UNEP committed to strengthening UNEP as the leading global environmental authority. Words that came out from Agenda 21, set the global environmental agenda. All these are things we've had it for 20 years and go back further at Stockholm. But also it says we reaffirm Resolution 2997 of 15 December 1972 when UNEP was created, which established UNEP. Is that going to be the mandate of UNEP in 1972? How will that affect UNEP's work on green economy, etc., TEB? How? Big question mark. How far the challenge is. But this also applies to all the UN agencies within their existing mandate. Going to be big discussion at the 67th session to adopt a resolution strengthening UNEP, yes, and upgrading UNEP in the following manner. The whole list of things. Capacity building was all over. Enhancement, human resource development, etc. All aspirational. But the challenge is how was not spelled out. It is in groups like this that the how can be and will be. That capacity building, research innovation. You don't see that word very often in UN Intergovernmental document. And then within a sustainable development, green economy, poverty alleviation, it talked for entrepreneurship, business skills, technical and vocational training. It's very important words. Then to me, Surrender will know this better, there are two very important words in here. Sustain, we have seen it before. Inclusive, we have heard it, seen it in many places. Equitable, we have not seen it. We can be inclusive, involve everybody. But if there's 101 different groups and societies involved, it's inclusive. But one group has income right here, the other group is income right there. People in urban areas have high income. People in other areas have low income, no equity. So inclusiveness alone is good, but it is not enough. Equity. And we need to work in all our programs and projects, not only sustain, not only inclusive, but equity. We've heard of eradication.
You have 2 more minutes, okay?
Eradication of poverty. Now we should also be looking at hunger. Beyond Rio+20, it has to be transformational, cannot be business as usual. There needs to be paradigm change. And this is my last slide